thank you, Mary, for being with us today and sharing your memories.
You're very welcome.
So we'll start off with biographical questions. Where and when were you born?
I was born actually in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, 1952. And we moved to Maryland when I was 5 years old.
Yeah. And how did you, where in Maryland did you grow up?
Silver Spring, Aspen Hill area. And we lived there until I got married.
Oh. Was your husband, did he grow up in Mount Airy?
No, he grew up in Gaithersburg area, Rockville area.
Oh. And what brought you to Mount Airy?
We bought a townhouse in Germantown and we lived there for 3 years. And then we started looking around for single family housing. And my brother came up here first and he found this development, Marydale. It's right across from the library actually. And we looked at the property and we liked the area. It's very rural, a lot of farmland, and it seemed like it was going to be a nice family development. So we bought our house, and it's the same house that we're living in now, almost 30 years later.
Wow.
So I raised my family here.
Mm-hmm. Well, how has the town changed since you came here? Because I've heard
there was nothing here. We didn't have. We just had the Safeway was, I believe, just built. We had a Food Right, which was on Main Street, and they would bring your groceries out to your car for you. It was very. There's nothing really else here. We did have I think a drug fair pharmacy, and we had a Dairy Queen at one time. But there was really nothing here. No restaurants. It was all farmland.
So you've seen quite a bit of development.
Yeah.
Now, when you were first here, was there a library here in Mount Airy?
Yes, there was.
And where
it was
that?
a small library on Main Street, and that's where I used to take my little girls to story time.
Where on Main Street? Just for anybody who's watching this who's familiar with Main Street.
I think it was 110 South Main Street.
Is what building? What is it
it's
used
now the town hall.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it was a nice, pretty building with big windows.
I see. That was
But
quite a
very
bit smaller.
Yes, very
than
small. Yeah. They used to do story times upstairs. We had a little upstairs mezzanine, and we used to do story times there, and that's where all the young adult books and YA books were kept. And it was a very busy little library. Just had very few people working there.
And no I guess there weren't any computers?
Right when I came on, they had a flood, and the building was closed. And so I helped with getting the books back and everything in order. And they did have a computer system back then. Oh. And that's where I learned. And so I've seen a lot of changes.
I bet you have. Well, how did you end up working at the library?
Well, I always came in, brought my kids for story time, and when my youngest daughter was turning into kindergarten age, I decided to look around for something part-time, and I wanted to be close. And I walked into the library. They had an opening, and Janet DeVinny was the head librarian. And she said, oh, let me give you an application. I filled out the application, went for interviews, and I got hired. Gail Griffith did my interview, and the rest is history. Mimi Asbach was the trainer for my computer. And I had to go up to headquarters, I think, for 3 days to be trained. And she told me I caught on really fast. And I started working.
So it must be a job you love if you've been here this long.
Over 25 years.
What event stands out? Does anything stand out in your mind, something that happened at the library when you were working there? Is there anything specifically that's...
Well, we had a snake that came into the back door one time, and we're putting books on the shelf, and we happened to go by the back door, and there was a grate on the window, and there was a snake that had twisted itself into the grate. And then we didn't know what to do. It was Yvonne and I working together, and we're like, oh my goodness. And Margot Yoke happens to be coming into the library, and we told her, oh my goodness, there's a snake in here. And she said, oh, let me call John. So her husband happened to be home. She called John, and he came and got the snake out, and he picked it up, and there was nothing in the back but weeds, woods, So he took and threw the snake out back, and we told him he was our hero.
Yes,
Yeah.
Things have changed, huh?
Oh, yeah.
What has changed the most as far as the library? Has there been any, as far as day-to-day dealing with people, has it all pretty much, is Mount Airy still pretty much the same, or
Well, it's certainly grown. I mean, certainly a lot more volume. We've had different computer systems through the years. I've seen so many changes. It's just the volume that we get coming in, the volume going out for holds, it's just unbelievable.
So it just reflects the population.
Oh, yeah.
And how have historical events affected your family and this community?
Historical.
I guess you weren't really, you've been here after most of the major historical.
Right. I just know that, like I had of course my father was in World War II, and so was my uncle. And my uncle actually was on a ship that sunk.
Oh, really?
And he was very, very lucky to be alive. So they, all the neighbors gathered they were all up in Pennsylvania, and all the neighbors gathered to my grandmother's house and said, we heard that Johnny's ship sunk. We're very, very sorry. And she said, he's all right. I can feel it. He's all right. And sure enough, I think it took 2 days, and she finally got word that he was okay. But he caught some debris of the ship and was hanging on to it. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been it.
Yeah, it was very frightening.
Quite a story, yeah. So, pause it. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the early days of the library. When you first moved into town, how was it? There was some sort of a difference as far as the school systems than there are now, right?
Yes, because Mount Airy is very unique. We are surrounded by 4 counties: Montgomery County, Howard County, Frederick County, and Carroll County. And at one point, and it's still there, but I don't believe all 4 counties meet there anymore. It's 4-county farm, and all the 4 counties met at that farm. It's right off of 27. And so we did have some Frederick County students in the town, because there again, Mount Airy is very unique. Main Street, partway down, on this side of Main Street is Frederick County, on this side is Carroll County. So we did have the Frederick County schools go to our Mount Airy Elementary and Mount Airy Middle School, and also South Carroll High School.
And then the library has changed physically, the building over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Could you describe the
changes?
changes?
We just outgrew, we actually had our volunteers. Actually, when we started in the library, all the juvenile books were not in order. They were just, the B's were with the B's, the A's with the A's, but they weren't in alphabetical order. So if you were looking for a book, it would take you a long time to find it. And then finally, through help with our volunteers, Juanita DeVault and Janet Weaver, they rooted through and got all of our easy books in order, alphabetically. So it was a lot. It was a tremendous help. And we kept it in order then.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we had this, like I said, we had story times upstairs, and sometimes they would do story times on the main level, depending on how many, kids. Mm-hmm. And actually back then, the kids that participated in story time, and they were there all year, they would have a little graduation ceremony for the end of the year. And they'd have a little graduation hat.
Oh.
And they were giving little papers that said that they participated in our story time through the years, and they're now graduated into the kindergarten.
Oh, that seems like a nice idea.
It was very nice. But then again, we were small. We didn't have the volume that we have now.
Right. And we got a little bigger. I think it was around 1992 or so mm-hmm. when this building, which we're sitting in right now, mm-hmm. opened.
Yep.
And there's a little story behind that too, isn't there, as far as moving from the old branch to the new one?
It was a very community event. We had neighbors, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts. It was a big event. We had people pack books in boxes. Then they would take the boxes out, hand them to another somebody, and then they would take them and put them in a truck. And then they would arrive here. And then we had people here on this end, Greg Becker, who was our new branch head because Janet DeVinny retired. He would be here and he was showing people where he wanted things and where they went. And we had our volunteers take them out of the boxes and put them in order. Of course, we had them alphabetically in the boxes, and numerically. So you just take them and put them right on the shelf. But we really couldn't have done it without them. They were fabulous. It was a big community event. Neighbors helping neighbors.
That's probably the way it still is in ways here today.
It is. I mean, this area, you never even had to lock your house up. You just that was your house, and nobody ever bothered it.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't there a story once that the library was accidentally not locked one time?
Yes, there was. Exactly right. Yeah, we had one of our maintenance persons. She'd come in the morning, and she would clean, and then she would leave. Well, this one particular day, she didn't lock the door, and so then we came in. The door was open. We looked, and there was a big note at our desk, and it said, "Dear librarian, my name is so-and-so, and I took out 3 books, and they are such and such and such and such, and here's my library card." And so we proceeded to check them out, and of course then we just laughed because, if you're living in a big city, you could never, ever do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one last question before we wrap it up. What is your favorite part about just living and working in Mount Airy? What has kept you here so long?
I'm close to where I live, and it was important while my children were in school that I be close. And I didn't want to go too far. I hate driving in heavy, I hate living in the city. I don't want to, I like going to New York, but I wouldn't want to live in New York. So Mount Airy is just perfect for, and it has grown through the years, but it still has a lot of the old town charm with it. Mm-hmm. And we still have people helping people here. And it just goes on and on. I mean, people, when they're sick, neighbors will help, and if you have a child that is sick, they will go out of the way to collect money and help support the family. And that's what we do in Mount Airy, and that's one part that I just really love.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope
the
we never
community
lose
loves
it.
you too. It's obvious. Well, thank you, Mary. We appreciate it, and we enjoyed talking to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.